Welcome. Today we are here for the virtual tour of intentional communities. My name is Rebecca. I'm standing in for Cynthia. She is actually out today doing a community retreat in Vermont. I am happy to be joined by the Twin Cities Family Cooperative, and we are going to go ahead and begin admitting folks into the room. So thank you all so much for joining. Hello, here is Becca from the Twin Cities Family Cooperative. All right, I wanted to show everyone on here the little thumbnail view. Great. Okay, so just getting started today, I am going to share some very quick housekeeping. So, all right, here we go. Let's see. All right, it is pulled up and hopefully everyone is seeing this. View slideshow. All right, are you all seeing the Twin Cities Family Cooperative virtual tour intentional communities page? Fabulous. So before we have our community members roll through their virtual tour of their community, I'm going to just quickly welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us live today. We're so glad that you're here. We also will have the YouTube video up for life up on the Foundation for Intentional Community page. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's live or later on. Just getting started, if you are here live with us on Zoom, please make sure that you are engaging in conversation. You can do so by clicking the chat button at the bottom of the screen. And so at this time, I'd love to invite everyone to introduce yourself. Where are you tuning in from? Me personally, I am here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, soaking up all the vortex energies. It's a sunny, gorgeous day here. Maybe you can also share not only where you're from, but also why you're interested in intentional community or co-housing. Are you wanting to join an intentional community? Do you already have an intentional community that you're living in? Please share your thoughts so that we can all connect. And also perhaps sharing what you're hoping to learn while you're engaging in this session. So first and foremost, this is hosted with the Foundation for Intentional Community. It is a long-standing, decades-long, just wealth of resources, a nonprofit organization, the go-to directory for folks to learn about the different intentional communities that exist all over the globe. So if you are not already following the website and subscribed to the email list, I would strongly encourage you to do so. And of course, any charitable donation is greatly appreciated so that they may continue this fabulous work. You may also check out 3 years of past virtual tours of intentional communities by subscribing to the Foundation for Intentional Community YouTube page. So if you are interested in seeing a variety of different tours from communities all over the world, that is definitely where you will want to go. There are many, many, many videos archived, and so we hope that you'll subscribe to the page and check out all of those informative tours. Also, Cynthia Tina has a company called CommunityFinders, and we work in partnership with the Foundation for Intentional Community. That's actually where Cynthia is right now. She's hosting her very first community retreat. It happens to be in Vermont, so she is caught up and busy with that really incredible immersive 4-day in-person event. If you are interested in joining the membership, she has the CommunityFinders Circle, which is really nice because you can engage with other people who are on this path. As well as if you want one-on-one support, Cynthia is a great resource. She is the go-to community matchmaker. So if you're like, I want to join a community, but I don't know where to start, I would strongly encourage you to connect with Cynthia Tina and book a one-on-one session. There's also a really great blog page that has a lot of great free resources all about intentional community. My name's Rebecca. I actually work with Ecovillage Tours. Some of you may know me. I'm the Chief Connection Coordinator there if you've ever been on a tour before. This is a program that allows you to actually visit communities with a small group and see various eco-villages and intentional living, alternative living modalities and properties in person. So we encourage you to join us for a tour. The last one in 2025 is in Italy. And then we have our robust 2026 schedule. We're going to Costa Rica, Hawaii, Bali, India, and we're about to announce tons of tours in Europe as well as the United States. So make sure you go to ecovillagetours.com. If you'd like, of course, you can schedule a call with me. Again, my name is Rebecca, and typically I work specifically with Ecovillage Tours, but I'm honored to be here with you all today. Keep in mind that the next virtual tour that we will be hosting is Thursday, September 25th. This will be taking place at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can register at ic.org/events. So get your registration going for that. And we will be featuring Rachel Carson Ecovillage, which is going to be a virtual tour with this community based in Pennsylvania, which is forming. So very exciting. Very honored to have them on. And before we have our guest, Becca from Twin Cities Family Cooperative, I just wanted to remind everyone to take a deep breath, be fully present for this incredible presentation. We're so honored to have Twin Cities Family Cooperative representatives joining us today for this virtual tour. Grab a drink, grab a notepad, take some notes, write down your questions. Of course, as well, you can put your questions in the Q&A. And we look forward to having Becca present so that we all may engage in this virtual tour of the Twin Cities Family Cooperative. So I am going to stop sharing right now and hand it on over to Becca. Hi, Becca.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. My name is Becca Herzog. I'm here with my husband, Steve, and my mom, Nancy. And we are so excited to share a bit about Twin Cities Family Cooperative with you today. We are the co-founders of Twin Cities Family Cooperative. I'm going to pull up my slides here. Is somebody else able to admit people now? Sorry, having a little trouble here. There we go. So we are the co-founders of Twin Cities Family Cooperative, which is currently 5 adults and 3 children. I'll share a little bit about how we got started, and then you'll get to see some pictures of our space. So in 2021, my family decided that we wanted more for our family, for our children, for ourselves as parents. Our children were really longing for more time playing with other children, and as parents, we were feeling very isolated and overwhelmed. It felt like we never had time to get everything done, let alone have connections and maintain friendships with people outside of our household. So we decided that the best way to meet our needs and our children's needs was to live in community with other families with children. So I started looking around for an intentional community for us to join that had other children and that was in our area. And it turns out it's really easy to find a community if you're a single person or if you have maybe just a partner. But a family of 5 is a different story. We decided that if we were going to live in the kind of community that we wanted, that we were going to have to start one. So we started talking with other families and reading books, listening to podcasts, taking trainings through Foundation for Intentional Communities, and visiting other communities to learn as much as we could about starting a community and living in a community. With all of that and with the support from many others, we started Twin Cities Family Cooperative, which quickly went from focusing on families with children to being an intergenerational community.
My turn? All right. We ended up we were living in the suburbs of Minneapolis, St. Paul. We used to live in a small house in South Minneapolis. We moved out to the suburbs, and when we founded our community, we really wanted to be more central to the city and more involved with people in an urban environment. So right now, our community building is located in the East Bank of Minneapolis, right in the city, right across the river from downtown. We're in a very quiet, peaceful neighborhood with a mix of higher density and medium density housing. We're walkable from downtown. We have a lot of public transit. We're really close to some of these nice views you can see in the photos. And uh, did I say public transit? And lots of bike lanes and infrastructure for bicycle transit around here. Next slide. So this is our community house that we moved into in May. It's got 7 apartments, and 2 of them are set aside for common space, where we will show our common spaces, where you have a dining room and some gathering spaces, and then 5 bedrooms that we're using as residences. 2 of which we personally occupy now. We have 1 vacancy, and then we have 2 apartments that are currently still occupied by tenants that had leases held over from the previous owners, but they'll be moving on eventually as we bring in more intentional community members. There's a pretty decent backyard, and like I said, the outside environment here is pretty peaceful and quiet. We've got some decent foot traffic from just neighbors moving around. It's a kind of a university neighborhood with lots of students and former students and pretty good diversity in the neighborhood.
So here is kind of the center of our community dining room. Um, it is where we share most of our meals. Every dinner is a community dinner, so anybody who is home during dinner joins the community meal. We take turns cooking and cleaning up after dinner. And this also is where we have our community meetings twice a week. On Fridays, we plan out our meals for the next week and talk about who's going to be having different plans in the evening. And on Sundays, we have our community business meeting here in the dining room. And then we also socialize in here. You can see there's usually a puzzle of some sort going on one of the tables. So we have a lot of fun in here. We spend a lot of time in the community dining room. And then we have our community kitchen right next to the dining room. So in here we have a refrigerator, a pantry, and a chest freezer for our community food. And we also have an overflow fridge and another kitchen. So most people eat mostly from the community food, which we all put money in to buy together. We also share a CSA, a community supported agriculture share, so that we can support local farmers by buying directly from them and buying local, buying organic. We like to be intentional about where we source our food from and where our money goes. Next year, we hope to be a drop-off site for a CSA. And moving on, we have a community game room. We have a very large selection of table games, puzzles. We really enjoy spending time together playing games. Next to that is our community library, where we cozy up on the couch with a book, or sometimes set up a movie to watch together, occasionally play a game of Twister. And in addition to our collection of games and books, we have a large collection of musical instruments. We're very musical. So we love having this music parlor right off of our dining room. It's wonderful, especially when we have a potluck, to hear people just sit down at the piano and start playing music or try out the harp. Not pictured here, but we also have a guest room for overnight visitors where we have a queen mattress. And then we also have additional blow-up mattress and twin-size beds and toddler-size beds so that we can have overnight guests who would like to visit our community, or so that we can have family and friends stay, and we don't all have to have our own guest rooms in our own spaces. So outside we have a small garden. Next year we hope to expand, possibly have some fruit trees. We have a trampoline in the side yard, which is a nice enclosed space for children to play. And then we also have, being in the city, the sidewalks are a nice place for the kids to zoom up and down on their bikes or their scooters. And it's a nice area to take a walk. So as you can see, we have a lot of community space. In terms of private space, members have anywhere from a single bedroom to a complete apartment. We've found that different households have different needs in terms of how much private space they want and need. And even within a single household, those needs can change if more children are brought into the family or move away, or an elder family member needs to move in to be cared for. So we really want to have flexibility in terms of different amounts and configurations of private space. And one thing that allows us that flexibility is by being a cooperative. So as a cooperative, members own shares in our community rather than individual living units or apartments. This allows movement between apartments without having to sell and buy different spaces. Co-ops are self-governing, so every member of our community is a member of the board and we make decisions together. Being a co-op allows us to decide who is a member, so when a member leaves, they can't sell their share to anyone. All membership is approved by the current members. And being a cooperative allows us to save money to go towards property repairs and improvements without it being taxed. So that's really good for us. And the co-op principles of equity, equality, self-help, democracy, and solidarity go very well with our community values as well. So as I mentioned, we decided to be an intergenerational and a family-focused community. It's very clear that intergenerational living benefits people of all ages. Children play and learn together and form relationships with other members of the community of all different ages. Community members may share in the responsibility of caring for children, although they are not required to. And we can share in the responsibility of caring for each other, and even the children can participate in caring for others in ways that are appropriate for them. The community provides practical as well as emotional support for parents, and together we can raise socially and environmentally conscious children. Most of our life in our community revolves around sharing life and sharing work. In our daily interactions through sharing meals and social time allows us to develop deep relationships with each other, and sharing each other's celebrations and family, cultural, religious traditions allows us a richer experience together as well. Sharing the work of maintaining and building our community is another way to share in each other's company and to share the workload. So everyone in our community contributes time and energy to community work according to their own abilities. So for some, that would be more time if they are retired or don't work, or are home on summer vacation. We have a minimum of 10 hours a week towards community labor for adults, and children also contribute to the level that they're able to. And that can involve anything from cooking and cleaning, shoveling, because we are in Minnesota, to maintaining the website, writing the newsletter, things like that. And it's a really great way for children to interact with adults and learn from them and develop relationships that extend beyond their immediate family.
One of our important values is that we care for our environment. This is reflected in a variety of ways. Some of it is aspirational at this point, as we've been very focused on trying to get our building in shape. So where we get our food is very important to us, and eventually we'd like to purchase, in addition to CSA's, purchase large quantities from, oh, the screen changed, from local farmers, particularly farmers of color, and then be able to preserve the food we need for the winter. We want to care for the soil and plants, which we're doing at a minimum level right now. But as we are more able to focus on the outside, we'll be able to do that more so. Steve already mentioned transportation. There's great bike lanes, just a block on either side of us. There's public transportation within 2 or 3 blocks. We personally own electric vehicles and a hybrid van, and it's a very walkable neighborhood. We want to care for our physical space in a way that sorry, I lost both how we are using our current building and the repairs and everything, but also when we build an addition, how resources are used during the building process and the outcome of the building. We want to build to passive house standards, which will minimize the use of energy. In terms of social justice action, again, another one of our strong values, some of which may be aspirational at this point. We all individually do things. One of the ideas that I am about to present to the community is that we brainstorm and share all the different ways that we individually are contributing to social justice in the world. And that we also talk about what would we like to do collectively? How could we as a group have an impact, particularly in our community or in the city, as well as beyond? We also want to, in terms of the values we have around social justice, to live them out in our relationships and in the decisions that we make. Our governing structure also reflects our values. We want open communication such that there is authentic sharing and deep listening by everyone in the community towards shared decision making. We use a particular model of consensus that I'll describe. The first part is where we're really hearing each other very intentionally. So we do a series of go-arounds. For example, the first go-around might be related to whatever the item is, the issue is, sharing from one's own perspective the wisdom that person has, and listening deeply to that of others. And then perhaps the second go-around would be, okay, let's talk again about what your thoughts and feelings are, having heard each other member in the community. And so on. And from a series of these go-arounds, a proposal would emerge as we are beginning to think what is the best action for our community as a whole. So it may differ from what I as a person might do, but if I think it's best for the whole community, That's where the proposal would focus. And then we move into the consensus agreement, where we take that proposal and go around the circle, and someone can either agree to it or disagree. If you disagree, that's not the same as a block. If you disagree, you put forth an alternative proposal. So the proposal that we kind of formed may need some tinkering, but if we've done a good job in our initial step one, it won't need much more. And so we come to a decision together. We do much of the work of the community in small working groups. Again, with only 5 adults, that's a very, we all work in a lot of different areas. But eventually, as we grow, these will be more distinct working groups who can make decisions within their sphere, so that not every decision has to be made by the whole community. We see conflict as a natural part of a healthy community. It's not good or bad. It just is going to exist, and it's how we deal with that conflict that matters. So we're going to get some training in nonviolent conflict resolution. Different ones of us have had more or less than others. But that is our goal.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about our economic principles. We're coming at this from a perspective of really wanting to value people in relationships and not value things according to market structures, according to the kinds of things that mainstream economics wants to impress upon us. So, for example, we live in a society where people working different jobs, putting in sometimes the same amount of labor may pay one person 10 times as much money for the same amount of time. And we consider those relationships to be harmful and prevent us from having the best kind of honest, meaningful relationships with others that we can. So part of our community values is to promote some level of economic redistribution and bring people closer together and have more equality in economic outcomes. You can go to the next slide. So as part of that, we are a partial income sharing community. So monthly dues are a portion of every household's income that they're generally bringing in from outside the community. We don't have a community business that new members would be joining and contributing labor toward. We would expect members to have some kind of income coming from outside the community. And then we would calculate dues based on each member's or each household's ability to provide. And that also goes for initial buy-in. If you're selling a house and coming in with the equity from a house, your buy-in would be some proportion of that we would have to work out together. And if you were coming in with no savings and some income but no meaningful assets, then your buy-in would be very different from someone who's coming in with a large savings account. And also, as Becca mentioned earlier, you're not, as a member of the cooperative, you wouldn't own the right to a specific housing unit. You would own a share in the cooperative, and you would occupy a space that the community collectively decides works best for a given household that is not related specifically to their financial contribution.
And I meant to move this slide to a different spot, so I'm just going to skip ahead, but we'll come back to our vision. So as Steve mentioned, we do have one apartment available at the moment, and we are looking for more members to join our community. This particular apartment is a 3-bedroom apartment in the basement with a very nice kitchen. It is the only apartment with its own dishwasher, and it has very large bedrooms that could either fit family with children or single or couples sharing more in like a roommate situation. And in addition to this, we also have a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom that will be available as we have more members ready to move in.
Okay, I can pick this one up a little bit. We've been working with an architect. We're fortunate to live in an area of Minneapolis that's zoned for high density housing. So we are pretty sure that we have the ability to build a second building on the back half of our lot. And this would be another about 8,000 square feet that would double the floors, that would double our existing floor space. And we have the potential to build up to 5 or 6 more apartments along with parking spaces underneath. Currently, the space is just an asphalt parking pad. We would be building with energy efficiency in mind, ideally meeting as many passive house standards as possible. And we haven't really gone into detail on the interior design in terms of actual layout or configuration of living spaces, because we really want that to be a dialogue with potential members who are really interested in buying in and talking about what the possibilities are, because we need those members in order to fund this project.
So if this sounds like something that you're interested either in our current building or in our future expansion, and you are interested in exploring membership with you, we would love to connect with you. We are looking for people who see children as valuable members of the community, who celebrate queerness, who aim to dismantle systems of racism, and who believe in community over capitalism. If this sounds like you, let's explore membership together. This exploration is a process of learning about each other, and together we explore what it would mean to live in community together. So our application to become an exploratory member involves several steps, including filling out a pretty extensive questionnaire that will help us get to know you. Once you have filled out your questionnaire, you get to see the questionnaires that all of us have filled out, so that it's a two-way flow of information, and you get to know us as much as we get to know you. Then we have 3 meals in person or 3 video calls to focus on your membership. And the last step is a background check, which does not exclude you from membership. If something does come up, it just is a conversation. And then once you become an exploratory member, we encourage you to live with us so that we can work more closely together, get to know each other on a deeper level, and experience what it is like living in community together. If you are interested in connecting with us, we welcome you to join our events that we hold in person and online every month. We have a monthly potluck and often have some kind of casual get-together. We also encourage you to follow us on Facebook and to join our monthly newsletter list. To find out how to get on our newsletter list or to connect with us, the best thing to do is to go to our website and find our interest form. I could probably also put the link to our interest form in the chat in a few minutes here, and reach out to us through that interest form. If that doesn't work for you, you can absolutely email us at tcfamilycoop@gmail.com. And now I will go back to our vision, since we skipped over that, and be ready for questions. So our vision: we are an intergenerational community of individuals, couples, and families. We are queer-affirming, gender-inclusive, and multicultural. We value the spectrums of the human experience and each individual's diverse abilities. We support each other in raising children and throughout all stages of life. We strive to live out of a place of abundance. We develop internal economic policies that actively push back against capitalist expectations. We are committed to nonviolence and environmental sustainability. We believe in the potential for radical transformation of society and see communal living as an element of that change. We strive to make meaningful contributions to society, engaged in dismantling the systems of racism and oppression in our society. And now I'll turn it back over to you, Rebecca.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becca, Steve, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to take a moment and open up the floor for Q&A. Thank you all so much. That was super informative. We have folks, a lot of people joining us live. I mean, some of these people are even from Minnesota. Look, I found Hillary here says hello from St. Paul, Minnesota. So maybe you can connect because you are so close. We have Joan from Charlottesville, Virginia, lived in an intentional community for a few years. Kendall from Austin, Texas, amazing. Bonnie from San Diego. So we have a lot of questions. So I am just going to go ahead and if you would like to answer some of these here, I think one that is a very good starting point. How many people, from Lori, she asks, how many people now, future, how many adults, children, and are you a co-housing community?
That's a really great question. Yes, we have an idea in our head that will be around 10 to 15 households. And we're a bit of a mix between a crossover between a co-housing community and co-living community because some households will have their own apartment complete with kitchen and everything, which is what you will find in a co-housing community. And some members decide that all they really need is a bedroom. So for example, the apartment that has our community dining room and kitchen and music parlor also has my mom's bedroom. So she does not have a complete apartment. And we found that that's really been, there's been a lot of different variety in how much private space individual families or households need. So that's why we're this blend of co-housing and co-living.
And we've converted a 1-bedroom unit into a 2-bedroom with one person having the living room as their bedroom, and then another person having the bedroom, and between them is a kitchen and bathroom.
Awesome. Yeah, we have some folks also asking, obviously it can take years and years to plan something like this. I understand you formally started physically with this in May, but someone was asking specifically about the background, like how did you all meet each other? How were the formative years? You've got very clear agreements and a structure as a cooperative and kind of what that process was in order to actually acquire the property. And now you're finding new residents and members.
I can speak to that one if you don't mind, Becca. So originally it was just our family and feeling isolated living out in the suburbs. And the first place we reached out was the Facebook group for our children's school. And we just, because it's a progressive school with a lot of people we knew already kind of aligned with us on values, and we asked, are there families who want to talk about this idea with us, who are interested in the idea of making space to live closer together? And we found 2 families from the school and then 1 family from out of state from the Foundation for Intentional Community website, or their directory hooked us up. And we spent almost a year with that group meeting online every week or 2 weeks to go through visioning and talk about what was important to us and really iron out all those values and get our mission aligned and make sure that we really knew what we wanted and where we were going. And those various folks drifted away for different reasons because they had different needs that they needed to meet. Some moved away and some had changes in their families and whatnot. But that collaborative process for that first year really put us on the footing that we needed in order to move forward later.
Becca or Nancy, do you want to add to that?
Well, I crashed the group and turned it into an intergenerational group because I said, I want to live there too. I've always wanted to live in an intentional community and was never able to, mainly from having children. Um, but yeah, we've spent the last 3.5 years uh, really shaping the different documents and evolving in our ideas about who we are and what we want to be. We started out thinking about living in the country and ended up right smack in the middle of Minneapolis. Um, so, and we started out thinking about everybody having a separate house, each household, and now we have all those configurations we talked about. So we're growing.
Good, good. Well, since you're further along in the process than most people pursuing intentional community, I mean, you've got the everything going and the agreements. Is there any advice that you can share with folks who are listening today who maybe aren't quite there yet? They're not on the land yet. They haven't formed or found other community members to work with.
Something that I've really enjoyed is listening to the Inside Community podcast. Um, that's been a really good way to learn about living in community and starting a community. We've also had some other really great resources from the Foundation for Intentional Communities, including trainings and books to look at. And I think Cynthia has this great resource here for connecting people with communities. If it had been a little bit easier for us, we probably would have gone to visit some more communities. We mostly stuck to visiting those in Minnesota, but there are some other really amazing communities around the country and around the world that would be great to learn from and experience.
Absolutely. We all can work together to find collaborative solutions, and what's working here may work there, and kind of trade that important life lessons and information so we don't have to learn the hard way.
And we've really also worked at building those connections with other communities, mainly in Minnesota, because we don't want to be just a community within our own walls. We want that to expand outside our walls in terms of other intentional communities and the wider world as well.
Yeah, Steve, I know this is a little off topic, but you had shared you both went to the Twin Oaks conference last week. Is that correct? And then maybe any insights there that you'd want to share with everyone who's tuning in?
Yeah, I flew out there as our community delegate while Becca was helping the kids get ready to go back to school. So it was a solo adventure for me, which was pretty nerve-wracking because it takes me a little while to open up to large groups of people. But I had the privilege of bringing our postcards and sharing some news about our community and meeting a lot of people out there. What I really liked about it, I think, was meeting people who are just doing so many different things than we are. It's very uncommon. We were an outlier in the group, being an urban community, and I was meeting a lot more people who are uh, living in cabins and in the woods and running cottage industries and things like that. And the biggest takeaway that I got actually as an urban community was the people who are living in more rural environments and building economic engines within their communities to be more self-sustaining and reduce their reliance on external economic inputs. And a lot of people said, this is something we should really be thinking about, even in the city. What can we do to say, invite members in who don't even have their own income and say the community is what it needs to sustain itself? Can we have our own business? Can we take advantage of our location to you and in our space? Can we set aside an apartment as an office where we do something that generates enough revenue to take us further away from our dependence on mainstream economics?
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that too, so there is a question from Joan asking about the initial expected financial buy-in, and then as well what the exploratory membership time would look like. So people are maybe interested in joining, you guys link to the application, and then what next would they anticipate or expect?
Yeah, I'm going to throw the link to our interest form in the chat now so that you have that. Um, the the question was about how long it takes. Was that right?
Yeah, so the question here from Joan, and feel free to, elaborate on the introductory new resident process in general, but her question specifically was, is there an initial expected financial buy-in?
Oh, right.
Also, how long is the exploratory membership time?
The initial, we call it a membership fee, exploratory membership fee, is $500. And because we found those resources and trainings on Foundation for Intentional Community so helpful, we encourage other folks to take those trainings. So 300, is it $300, $200? One of those, sorry, I can't remember at the moment. Of that $500 can be used to participate in trainings. So you would pay for those trainings and be reimbursed from that $500.
Awesome.
$200 is
$200. Okay, sorry.
the other 300 is if you choose not to proceed with membership, that would be reimbursed. If you do proceed with membership, that $500 becomes your membership fee.
And that's really smart too. So people are learning and they're gaining the information they need in order to be a proactive community member. We do have a question from someone asking about kind of that process. So they say it sounds like the decision making, dispute resolution process could be very time intensive. Do community members commit to setting aside time every week that could be used for dispute resolution? I imagine that's something they could learn in those trainings, right?
we do have a hour-long business meeting on Sunday mornings. It's not for small decisions, maybe. But the process is once it's learned, it actually saves time because issues aren't rehashed. People don't go away disgruntled from voting and bring things back again. We really do a good process, and it becomes very efficient once people learn it.
And I want to go back and finish answering that question about membership and buy-in fees. So our exploratory membership, once we go through the initial meeting someone phase and agree that they would make a good member, then that's when we would extend an invitation to actually join us and live in the community as an exploratory member. And then our expected time period for exploratory membership is 6 months. And after 6 months, that's when they would maybe make a final decision about permanent membership for however long that member chooses to stay. And then that's when we would talk about a real buy-in amount, which would be a capital contribution, which, as I mentioned during our financial topic earlier, it really depends on a household's ability to contribute. We want to raise money from that kind of thing for the growth of the community. For example, we're talking about building our new building and things like that. We want members to be invested in things like that. So that contribution would really come from, if someone is selling a house, what would the down payment of a new house be? It would be the equivalent of that. If you don't have any money or you're not selling a house, it might be considerably less. It might be like the down payment on an apartment, like a deposit. And that would go into an account associated with the individual, where the community would spend it on capital projects, but it would still be associated with that person. So if they leave the community some years down the road, that would still be theirs to be refunded according to the community's timeline that we can pay out, depending, like if it's $5,000, it may be immediately. If it's $50,000, it may take some months for us to scrape together that liquidity to give back to someone, but it's still that person's money.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, I don't see any. Oh, a question just came through. Has it happened that consensus could not be reached around an important decision? And what happens or would happen then?
We would likely table it, have more discernment, come back to it. That's especially important for really major decisions. We haven't experienced that ourselves, but
Yeah,
I've experienced it in the church where I learned it and where I taught it to the congregation. So
you have a very clear mission and purpose statement. And so maybe as well, it's attracting aligned interests, and that helps to mitigate, conflict because you're already all in the same wavelength. There is another question on that similar topic. It sounds like the decision
That's
making
just a repeat of
that
verbatim of the last one.
yes, different wording. Okay. Just asking if they set aside time. And you guys kind of said you do an hour, right, a week. So
there was
well,
a question about wheelchair accessibility. And we had to redo the front steps. They aren't wheelchair accessible, but they're 4-inch steps instead of 5.5-inch steps. I use a walker and I can navigate those stairs much more easily than I can the back stairs that are the traditional 5.5-inch steps. When we build, we want to be able to have it more accessible. However, this is an old building. It was built in 1900, and the doorways are very small. I don't think they would accommodate a wheelchair. So
maybe in phase 2, when you build out the architectural rendering that we saw a photo of, then that could be, incorporated for future members, perhaps.
We won't be able to make the entire building accessible, but we can definitely make some improvements.
There is a question regarding your pet policy. Are there any pets?
Currently, no. Mom, do you want to take that one?
it's going to be on a situation basis, probably. We've talked about cats and dogs, and anything smaller that lives in a tank in one's unit. Cats could be with a cat could be within your unit, within your private space. We're mixed about a dog, so we decided it would just have to be dealt with on an individual basis.
Yeah.
There's not an automatic yes, but there's not a hard no.
Yeah.
And I don't consider chickens pets, but we do plan to have chickens probably next summer.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest point of contention in the last 2 intentional communities I lived in were the dogs, just barking at night or attacking the chickens, or just these little things that you wouldn't really think about, with how it can bring in more noise and property damage or loss. But they're such loving creatures too, so that's smart to take it case by case. So. Okay, it seems as though you went through many issues. Well, are there conferences or communities like yours that are helpful for exchanging information? Secondly, can you name a time when you've changed the world so it's all good? I have hope that you can do it. Thanks, Lori. I don't know who the question's directed at. I could answer from what I know regarding conferences. There's a really big one in Europe. So the Global Ecovillage Network puts that on in the summer. There was that one in Twin Oaks just a week ago, so you just missed that one. If you sign up for the newsletter, Cynthia is really good about sending emails that have a very clear breakdown of upcoming events. There's always new things popping up, so I would encourage you to visit CommunityFinders website. I can get the link, and subscribe to her email list, because she sends out really good informative information about like upcoming events pretty frequently. So I'm going to send that here on the chat as a resource. Do y'all have anything to add to that for Lori? Any events that you can suggest?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Foundation for Intentional Community.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Of course, if you're on this Zoom, I'm assuming you're on the email list, but always promoting good events there too. A lot of virtual events. Maybe you could consider the Ecovillage Tours an event. I don't know where you're based, Lori, or other folks on this live stream or watching on YouTube. But of course, if you are seeking to visit communities firsthand, you can do an Ecovillage tour and see a variety of different communities, ecovillagetours.com. Do you, Becca, Steve, and Nancy, do you offer tours of the
Yeah, absolutely. We offer virtual tours for those that are not local. It's just a matter of setting up a time. I'm mostly available now that my children are back in school. During the day, I can meet with folks online and talk about our community, do a little tour of the community and get to know each other more. And if you're local, we love to have you plan a time to come visit us. In addition to our events that we hold, again, our monthly potluck is open to anybody who would like to join us for that event, as well as our other events, either in person or online, which you can find in our monthly newsletter that we send out, as well as other updates about our community and discussions about living in community.
Amazing. All right, great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add about the Twin Cities Family Cooperative before we sign off? We just have a few minutes here.
Not that I can think of. It's been really great to be here with you, and I look forward to connecting with some folks from this call.
Awesome. Well, we have Joan saying this has been a really helpful presentation and also encouraging to know folks are working so diligently on an urban model. Yes, I agree. Okay, great. Well, I am going to conclude here then and do a quick little farewell to everyone. So first of all, I just want to say thank you all for joining today. It's been a pleasure having you on this virtual tour of intentional communities. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Rebecca. I'm standing in for Cynthia. If you would like to learn more, of course, you can visit ic.org/events. If you'd like to learn more about upcoming virtual tours, be sure to sign up for our next one in 2 weeks. Oh, I guess if you're watching the replay, that's not super helpful. But it's going to be every 2 weeks. We do these twice a month. So hopefully you can join us live for the next one. We will be visiting in Rachel Carson Ecovillage, and that is just north of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. So please join us for this in a short amount of time. And for today, just want to thank again, extend my gratitude to the Twin Cities Family Cooperative. It was a pleasure hearing from you, Becca, Steve, Nancy. Thank you so much for your time today. It was so lovely learning about your community. I hope that this will help to find new community members for your exciting project. And for everyone listening, thank you for joining, and we hope to see you on the next one. Bye. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to join an Ecovillage tour, let me know and I'll help you because we have a bunch coming up in 2026. So, ecovillagetours.com. Okay. All right. Signing off now. Bye, everyone.